Swalwell. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
You too. Good afternoon, Anna. Thanks for having me back.
You just heard what a lot of your former rivals are saying about gun control. Here's what you told me back in June when you were still running for president.
And I stood today in front of gun violence survivors, trauma surgeons, community leaders, people from Chicago, Houston, Indiana, and from all over our country who are saying enough is enough. Not only are we going to ban and buy back assault weapons under my plan, I'm the only candidate calling for that. We're going to invest in the root causes of gun violence in many of our cities, like just a lack of education and jobs or gang violence prevention programs, but also put in place a licensing requirement and an insurance requirement. Again, we believe we're the only campaign calling for an insurance requirement on all firearm purchases in America.
Congressman, I know how passionate you are about this issue. You built your campaign on the issue of gun violence and what to do about it. Do you feel like you may have dropped out of the 2020 race too early, given this renewed focus now on this issue?
No, I feel great being out of the race. I'm sorry that, I did have to leave it, but when there was no longer a path and it was only about, just making the debate stage and not about winning it, it didn't seem right to stay in. But the issue persists. And I want to tell you, that clip you just showed was before the Democratic debate. And at the Democratic debate, I was able to get Vice President Biden and Senator Sanders to agree that we should have not just a ban on assault weapons, but a buyback. But a moment occurred on the commercial break during the debate that I'll never forget, and I think says everything about this. My guest was Fred Guttenberg, whose daughter Jamie died at Parkland, and he sat there holding my wife's hand as she nervously watched. And on the last commercial break, when guns had not been brought up yet, I saw Fred jump out of his seat and run over to Rachel Maddow and Chuck Todd, and he was shouting something, and security tackled him and took him back to his seat. And I walked to the end of the stage and I said, Fred, what the hell's going on? What are you doing over there? And he said, Eric, they're not talking about guns. They need to ask you guys a question about guns. And fortunately, they did. But I think Fred represents all of us, that this debate for the presidential campaign has to be about guns. It has to be a top-tier issue. And sadly, because of what continues to happen, it finally is.
Well, which of the 2020 candidates currently running has the best plan to address gun violence?
Well, I really, admire Cory Booker putting out a comprehensive plan. Elizabeth Warren, just in the last 48 hours, put out a plan. The vice president has called for a ban and also a buyback. I think it's important to have the buyback component, and Kamala Harris, who I worked with in the same district attorney's office, Alameda County District Attorney's Office, she gets this issue and has a good plan. But the buyback is an important component because it recognizes that if we ban assault weapons, that only bans future sales. But a buyback would take the 15 million that are on our streets off our streets immediately and keep us all safe where we gather.
Are you ready to endorse anybody yet in the 2020 race?
No, I'm still watching. I enjoy watching as a member of Congress who will work with the next president and also as a father who worries about his own children. I have a son in preschool, and I think about things that my parents did not think about when I dress my son and send him off to school every day. And that's, whether he's going to be safe, whether he's going to come home. You get that call from the school now, and you no longer worry that, he had like a small accident on the playground. You worry that a shooter may have come to the school. And that's every parent's reel right now in America. And we don't have to live that way.
You sit on the House Judiciary Committee where the question of impeachment still looms. Here's what Chairman Jerry Nadler had to say just a few days ago.
This is formal impeachment proceedings. We are investigating all the evidence, we're gathering the evidence, and we will, at the conclusion of this, hopefully by the end of the year, vote articles of impeachment to the House floor, or we won't. That's a decision that we'll have to make. But that's exactly the process we're in right now.
And here's reaction from Jerry Connolly, a member of the House Oversight and Reform Committee. Listen to this.
I'm not quite sure what Chairman Nadler meant, because we have not launched a formal impeachment inquiry in the United States Congress.
Congressman, are you aware of a formal impeachment inquiry or proceeding?
Well, the House Judiciary Committee is undergoing an impeachment investigation. And, what's clear here is that there are a number of remedies for the president's lawless conduct. The most extraordinary remedy, of course, is impeachment. There could be censure. There could be other remedies that we put forward. But the only way to recommend a remedy to the whole House would be for us to undergo what we're doing right now. You know, there's only been 3 other impeachment inquiries or investigations in the history of our country. They all occurred in different ways, and so this is, as far as I'm concerned and as far as the chairman's concerned, an investigation, and impeachment is one of the remedies that we may recommend.
Well, why not make it official and call it a formal impeachment inquiry? I mean, Jerry Nadler seemed to go there, but it hasn't been announced in that way.
Well, we're calling it an impeachment investigation. And, you know, the Constitution doesn't provide any mechanism for undergoing the investigation that we're doing. There's no prescription that you have to follow or that is laid out. Each Congress has done it in a different way. The most important thing here, though, is that this president's conduct is no longer going unchecked. And doing nothing, as far as I'm concerned and others are concerned, would only see more lawlessness, and it would set a lower standard for future presidents. And we don't want either of those to occur.
Finally, I know you're there in Las Vegas for DEF CON this weekend. I want to ask you about something you talked about earlier today when you weighed in about the conspiracy theory and those that are being spread about Jeffrey Epstein's death on social media. You said it reminds you of third world countries. Congressman, was your comment referring to President Trump?
No, my comment was certainly referring to President Trump retweeting a conspiracy theory, but this president has really, I think, diminished the faith that people have in institutions. He's really peddling conspiracy theories, and I actually think your colleague Jim Sciutto characterized it best yesterday in a tweet that he put out that said, you know, this reminded him of the Middle East, where there was a lack of trust in government, and every time an event happened, people always questioned whether the government was really telling them the truth. And I think that's where the president has really reduced the debate to in our country. And it also is, Congressman O'Rourke has noted, he's trying to take our eyes off of what's really important, like gun violence. You see that he tweeted at Anthony Scaramucci yesterday. You know, he continues to tweet at Vice President Biden about, just nonsense, and he's tweeting about conspiracy theories. It really leaves you with the question of who's leading the country.
Congressman Eric Swalwell, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much.